often. I don't like the telephone. I don't use the telephone often. Maybe 6 times a day. Perhaps, maybe 6 times a day. And Richard, how often do you watch television? I watch television every day. But how many hours a day? ¿Cuántas horas por día? ¿Cuántas horas al día? How many hours a day do you watch television? Me, I watch television about 10 minutes a day. And how often do you use the computer? I use the computer every day. And how often do you buy a car? I buy a car once every 4 years. But I don't buy a car. I rent a car once every 4 years. And Richard, how often do you buy shirts? I buy shirts about once every 3 years. And Richard, how often do you talk to Maria about the problems in Afghanistan? I never talk to Maria about the problems in Afghanistan. And how often do you talk to her about the problems in the Vatican? I never talk to her about the problems in the Vatican. And how often do you talk to her about the lights? I talk to her about the lights about once a day. And how often do you talk to Maria about the microphone? I talk to her about the microphone. Aquí about 2 veces. I talk to her about the microphone about twice a day. And how often do you sit in a black chair in class? I never sit in a black chair in class. Okay. Vuelvo enseguida. Ahora otro profesor. Once a day, once a week, once a month, once a year. Twice a day, twice a week, twice a month, twice a year. 3 times a day, 3 veces al día, 3 times a day, 3 times a week, 3 times a month, 3 times a year. Once every 2 years. Once every 5 days. Una vez cada 5 días. Once every 5 days. 2 veces por hora. Twice an hour. Una vez a la hora. Once an hour. Twice an hour. 5 times an hour. 5 times a day. 3 times a day. Once every 2 years. Once every 10 years. And once every 2 days. Okay, thank you. Ahora pasamos a otro profesor.
Thank you very much, Richard. My name is... Do you know it? ¿Lo sabes? Eso es, Alberto Alonso. Very good. All right, but more importantly, más importante, forget my name. Forget my name because more importantly, my wonderful, very educated, very smart student, Esther. Esther, how are you?
Hi, Alberto. I'm fine, thank you.
Okay. Are you improving? ¿Estás mejorando?
Yes, a little bit.
I think you are. Yo creo que sí. I think so. Creo que sí. Okay, well, today we're going to look at adverbs of frequency. Frecuencia. Okay? Cosas que hacemos habitualmente y lo repetimos, right? So, la pregunta, ¿con qué frecuencia? ¿Cómo se hace la pregunta? ¿Con qué frecuencia, por ejemplo, con qué frecuencia estudias el inglés?
How often do you study English?
Okay. How often. Eso es. How, ahora hay 2 pronunciaciones. Hay gente que dice how often y pronuncian la T. Y hay gente que se come la T. Entonces, how often. ¿Ves? Entonces, tú decides. Es que he oído los 2 de nativos y se puede decir los 2. How often, how often. ¿Ok? El auxiliar, how often do you. Ok, pues te voy a hacer una serie de preguntas. A cámara, quiero que dais respuesta en casa también, por favor, con Esther. Ok, Esther, vamos a ver. How often do you play basketball?
I play basketball once a week.
once a week. I play basketball once a week. Ahora, no decimos one time a week porque no fluye. Once a week. ¿Cómo dices 2 veces a la semana?
Twice a week.
Twice. Eso es, once a week or twice a week. Okay, ask me how often I play basketball.
How often do you play basketball?
I play basketball once a year. Yeah, I play basketball once a year. Okay? Ask me how often I play football.
How often do you play football?
Okay, what do you think? ¿Qué opinas tú? ¿Qué opinas? Tú me conoces un poco.
Once, twice a week.
Okay, so, ¿cómo dirías? Tú juegas al fútbol una vez a la semana.
You play football once a week.
Eso es, muy bien. Pues es correcto. I play football once a week. Okay, how often do you speak English?
I speak English every day.
That's good, that's good. I speak English every day. Espero que es vuestra respuesta también. I speak English every day. Do you speak English every day? Si no, ¿qué haces? What are you doing? You have to speak every day. Ahora, ¿cómo se dice un día sí y otro no?
One and another day.
Eso es la traducción
No.
literal. No. Decimos, I speak English, por ejemplo, every other day.
Every other day.
Cada otro día. Un día sí y otro no. Not one day yes and one day no. Eso es la traducción literal. Okay, so I speak English every other day. Okay, how often do you go on vacation?
I go on vacation twice a year.
Twice a year. Ask me how often my sister goes on vacation.
How often does your sister go on vacation?
Muy bien. Y como ves, ha empleado el tercer persona ahí. Does. How often does? Si es para ti, how often do you? Ella, how often does she? ¿Ves? El do cambia a does. So one more time, repeat your question.
How often does your sister go on vacation?
Very good. My sister goes on vacation twice a year. She goes on vacation twice a year. How often do you go to the doctor?
I go to the doctor once every 2 years.
Okay, once every 2 years. Okay, I go to the doctor once every 2 years. Ask me the same question. No, ask me the dentist.
How often do you go to the dentist?
I go to the dentist once a year. I go to the dentist once a year. Okay? Ask me how often my sister goes to the dentist.
How often does your sister go to the dentist?
My sister goes, ¿ves? Tercer persona, no te escapas de la S. My sister goes to the dentist at least, al menos, at least twice a year. At least twice a year. Okay? How often do you read the newspaper?
I read the newspaper every day.
You read the newspaper every day. Ask me how often I read the newspaper. The same thing.
How often do you read the newspaper?
I read the newspaper every other day. Un día sí y otro no. I read the newspaper every other day. Okay? How often do you watch television?
I watch television every day.
You watch television every day. Ask me how often my sister watches television.
How often does your sister watch television?
She watches television every day. Every day. How often does your sister watch television?
My sister watches television.
¿Dónde estará ese?
Watches.
Okay.
My sister watches television every day.
Okay, watches. Acuérdate, porque como, imagínate esto, watch, en tercera persona es watches. Se añade una sílaba, porque no puedes decir watch. No hay nada que lo distingue entre el que no lleva la S y el que no. Entonces, añadimos ES. I watch television. My sister watches television. Okay, lo mismo con catch, cualquier verbo que acaba. Lavar, wash. I wash every day. My sister washes. ¿Ves? Hay dos sílabas. Wash, washes. ¿Ves? Entonces hay un truco ahí. So, one more time. How often does your sister watch TV?
My sister watches TV every day.
Your sister watches TV every day. Okay. Ask me how often I listen to the radio.
How often do you listen to the radio?
Muy bien. Acuérdate, siempre ponemos listen con to. No puedes decir listen me, listen you. Escucha a mí, escucha. Listen to me. Listen to the radio. Listen to music. Siempre con to. Es un error muy común. Por eso te lo digo. Okay? All right. So, what's your question? Repeat your question.
How often do you listen to the radio?
Perfect. I never listen to the radio.
Never.
Well, I listen to Vaughan Radio. Yes, that's it. I listen to Vaughan Radio at vaughanradio.com. I'm doing a little advertising for the radio, right? Okay, ask me how often my sister listens to the radio.
How often does your sister